Don in London, hello. Just checking the time. January 5th, 2010. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol. My behaviour could be as addictive: work, relationships, materialism, collecting. Trying to fill a gap, I guess, inside me. Trying to fit in, trying to be included. Trying to be whatever I thought you thought I ought to be, and whatever society thought I ought to be as well, which was to be a go-getter, self-sufficient, do it on my own, run on self-will, and all those good things that I thought were right for me. And along the way, what helped me most? Well, alcohol, take the edge off, feel convivial, in fact feel things, and let go in some strange way. And the strange way of letting go was to actually use something to make me feel better. And it bit me back after many years through to dependency and then addiction. And what's the difference between an ordinary drinker, a dependent drinker, and an addictive drinker? Well, I guess the answer is only the person knows who's gone through it, because if you're just a normal drinker, you don't experience it, and you don't need to, and it's very hard to understand how can someone become dependent on something outside themselves to make them feel better, and how is it to be addicted where we cannot stop doing something which is killing us and also making life possible. That's the conundrum, and that's the one we face on a daily basis if we want to stay in recovery, is to give up that which we think is going to fix us and start letting life happen as it is in the real moment of now. So for me it's been a long journey, if you like, to stop fixing and start living. And that might sound a bit bleak. Stop fixing, start living. Well, the truth is that's me. I need to live in order to understand life and who I am, just simply on a daily basis. So I don't believe for a moment any moment has been wasted along the way, because it took every last drink to make me realise exactly what I am, an alcoholic, and I'm now in recovery, one day at a time. That is the gift. And I went to a meeting last night, not my usual one, out in the country, in a place where I've never been before, and it was a very cold night and a very clear sky, and seeing the stars as they are without the backlight of London was amazing, and I could see constellations I hadn't seen for years, and it reminded me of childhood and what it was like back then, before drinking. And it's good to be able to recollect those things these days, and it's even better to be alive to recollect them. So what are my videos here to do? Well, an introduction to AA maybe, and that's Alcoholics Anonymous, a fellowship which keeps me on track on a daily basis, or just a reminder and a refresher for me mainly, and to share experience, strength and hope of what is going on. So when I say I went out of London to a meeting, it was a 6-hour round trip in the end to speak at a meeting for 25 minutes, and the best part of course is always listening to what other people say and share back, and it was really good. People finding how to be extraordinary in ordinary living, just being themselves. So what is AA and how does it help me? Here is the statement of intent, said at every meeting I go to, which is why I share it here. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and to help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety, which is why I do these videos. And it's about keeping life in the day, understanding our feelings, our emotional makeup, our physical well-being, and this spiritual angle that people talk about. And I talked about that a lot last night. For me, spiritual is simply the ability to cope with what's happening now and see the truth of now. See the truth of now as it really is. Not my version, not what I wish it to be, not what I thought it was or should be, but just as it is, so I can live and be a part of, and be included, and understand how to be able to function and be a part of family, community and society. So sounds like big things, but they're not. They're just normal things that normal people do. And the distortion for an addict is everything's out of shape. Our feelings are suppressed or way out of control. We haven't got a spiritual drop in us, maybe, or maybe we have. That spiritual connection, even though it might be the most horrible experience, is still a spiritual connection. And when people talk about spiritual, is it to the happiness of life? Well, if we're lucky, we get 50-50, 50% good, 50% bad, or we get extremes, 10% absolutely monumental and wonderful, and 10% absolutely horrible and bad, and then we've got 80% in the middle, which is just average, but extraordinary living, because we're in the moment. So spiritual for me is not about being higher or better or improved. It's about absolutely knowing what is going on around me, the good of life and the bad of life. And that's what I've learned in recovery. It's to live the day as it is and make the choices as we go and respond to life rather than react to in a fearful, driven manner. So I use daily reflections here, this book, to illustrate what goes on in the programme of AA. And January is all about the first step, if you like, in this particular book, which reads as the 12 steps of AA. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. And there are two statements there: powerless over alcohol, and when we drink, life is unmanageable. And to actually get to a place of understanding powerless over taking the next drink, the horror of admitting that is true, and then accepting it. That's two parts: admit, accept. I admitted it in the end, but acceptance meant that I needed to work out how to keep sober on a daily basis. So acceptance is ongoing. We don't get over the steps, we live them. We live this program, live it in principle and action. So when it says here for January 5th, total acceptance, this is what it says: he cannot picture life without alcohol. Someday he will be unable to imagine life either with alcohol or without it. Then he will know loneliness such as few do. He will be at the jumping off place. He will wish for the end. And that was me. I wish for the end rather than to live. Only an alcoholic can understand the exact meaning of a statement like this one. The double standard that held me captive as an active alcoholic also filled me with the terror and confusion. If I don't get a drink, I'm going to die, competed with, if I continue drinking, it's going to kill me. Both compulsive thoughts pushed me ever closer to the bottom. That bottom produced a total acceptance of my alcoholism, with no reservations whatsoever, and one that was absolutely essential for my recovery. It was a dilemma unlike anything I'd ever faced, but as I found out later on, a necessary one if I was to succeed in this program. And total acceptance of my alcoholism means I don't mind being reminded of it, either by me or by other people, because it tells me and informs me I need to be careful of what I do next. Right action, right practice, right principles in all that I am doing, to live open and honest and willing as life affords. So for me, as I say at the end of these videos, it is a spiritual program, and for some it is religious as well, and I wouldn't ever knock a person's belief, whether they're agnostic, atheist or a believer in God. It's as we choose to understand life and what the experience of life has taught us, whether we're agnostic, a believer or an atheist. And sometimes we change our minds because life can do that to us. So the serenity prayer to God, or good conscience, as you choose and is authentic to you: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is always, for me, just for today.